Hello, my friends. I know that you probably expected like an intro or something, right? But it's not the case today. The other day I remember that funny story when back in Kiev, I think it was last year, I so much expected to share the news and the updates. And only 20 minutes after the beginning of the stream, I noticed that I actually didn't start it because someone in the commentaries said like, dude, are you sleeping or something? Anyways, hello, my dear friends, operator Starsky here. It is such a pleasure to see you tonight with us. It's 1st of December, first day of the new year, 2025. Today we will talk about the perspectives of Ukraine in 2025. But, I would like to start with some rather not really pleasant updates because, as you know, tonight Russians hit Ukraine with 111 drones. Majority of them were either intercepted or suppressed using electronic warfare. Two returned back to Russia and Belarus. I'm not sure if they landed, but unfortunately we had casualties because the remains of the intercepted drone fell. They crashed in the Kyiv downtown on a house and caused some severe damage. One woman was reported dead. 6 people were reported injured. Unfortunately, the number grew because the rescuers found some more injured and unfortunately killed people. And unfortunately, famous Ukrainian neurobiologist Igor Zima was also found dead today together with his wife. He lived in the same house, and the drone remains crashed and exploded, killing Dr. Igor Zima. He was extremely famous doctor of biology and medicine. He was a professor in the Kyiv National University of Shevchenko, Institute of Biology and Medicine, and he died together with his wife and their cat. He was found only today. At first, the connection with him was lost. Nobody could call them, like they didn't reply, and their bodies were found. So today we will talk a bit about the perspectives of Ukraine, and again, because I am not a geopolitical strategist, I am not an expert, I base my opinion on opinions of people I trust or consider trustworthy. Okay, so today we will talk about the Ukrainian perspectives based on several opinions, and one opinion I would really like to share with you, my friends, comes from Major General of Ukrainian Armed Forces, Volodymyr Gavrilov. He was Deputy Minister of Defense in 2022 and 2023. Actually, this man stands behind the idea of switching from 152 millimeter shells to 155 millimeter shells, because 155 millimeter is a caliber used by NATO countries. We will talk about it a bit later because it's, I would say, rather important. Recently he did an interview with several Ukrainian channels. I watched them, and we have Miroslav Bortovy, by the way, in the chat. Hello, my friend. Miroslav is en route from one Ukrainian city to another Ukrainian city. I really hope that he's doing fine. Cheers. That's, by the way, that's not stolen, but how to say it, privatized Christmas cup from a Christmas market in Köln. Yeah, it was in Köln. Basically, you can buy some kind of beverage and you pay some money, some reserve, some like €2 extra, and you can keep the cup. How cool is that? Caitlin T. not borrowed, privatized transparently, okay? Fund, yeah, that is the word. Yeah, genau. Okay, where are we? Because, we have a lot of discouraging, I would say rather discouraging, sometimes encouraging, sometimes discouraging rumors and gossips and updates coming from the Ukrainian frontline, because looking at what we have today, there's a lot of talks about either problems with managing troops, with the TLP, problems with logistics, problems with human reserves in Ukraine, with the personnel and yada yada, and weaponry. What is the situation as of 1st of January? I said December, it's 1st of January 2025, and what's the general situation in Ukraine, right? And what to expect further. So Major General Havrilov, in his interview, said that Russia literally has no chance to win the war. I was like, come on, what kind of, like, of course, Russia has as much chances to win the war as Ukraine. In my personal opinion, considering the fact that Ukraine is supported by the whole world, of course, those chances are miserable, and everything depends literally on the international support of Ukraine, right? Which unfortunately is dropping down due to the Russian propaganda and Russian misinformation, disinformation around European countries and American countries. But generally, there is a chance. And here the general says that there is no chance. I am not that optimistic, right? Usually I prefer to be more realistic. Like I'm a realistic optimist, right? But I'm not a general. So then he explained several points that I would say I would find rather encouraging for myself as a former military. What is strategical situation as of now? Strategically, as the general explained, Ukraine has two big advantages comparing to Russia. And advantage number one is extremely active Ukrainian society, which, by the way, is responsible for not letting Russia win the war during the first months of the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. And also, this is basically the driver for changes in our country. Ukrainian society is the force that dictates the willpower of Ukrainian people, of course, because they are Ukrainian people. And comparing to them, Russia doesn't have anything like that. Russian society, Russian civil society is not active. They don't know what is freedom. They don't know what is democracy. That is why they often talk about, like American oligarchs, shadow government, shadow foreign government dictating Ukraine what to do and what not to do, which is a complete bullshit. In Ukraine, people decide what to do. People criticize our government, our command, and things like that, which is extremely cool, but at the same time, it's also the source for spreading all kinds of zrada. We talked about zrada, that is betrayal, right? Betrayal. When there were no social media, armies and everything that was happening in the armies in terms of combat, in terms of military operations, was not really influenced by the public opinion. Basically, commanders had all kinds of capabilities to perform their tasks, right? And nowadays, with social media there, and you can literally see updates from the front line almost in real time, right? Public opinion is very much vocal about everything that happens on the front line, which is, again, of course, it's used by the Russian propagandists and people spreading Russian disinformation. At the same time, it's also good because it helps raise awareness about problems that we have in the army. But in Russia, it's absolutely different, and Russian society doesn't know what it is to be free, what does it mean to be active, what does it mean to criticize their leadership and things like that. They have absolutely no idea. That's why 90%, 99% of their protest actions, if they happen, they fail dramatically, and basically Russian oppositionists suck balls big time. So that is one thing. Ukraine has extremely active civil society, which is probably our biggest advantage. Skilled military, that is another thing, but Ukrainian civil society, that is something extremely important. Another thing is international support, which is the main concern for Putin and Putin's regime. We all know that Tucker Carlson went to Moscow twice to retransmit their messages to the international society, international community, basically their demands to stop supporting Ukraine, because this is the main cause for Putin to lose the war. And basically, if we are talking about 2022, the main military objectives for Putin, they were not reached until this day. Basically, they failed to reach those objectives, and the main idea of this whole so-called special military operation in Ukraine, besides destroying the Ukrainian sovereignty and installing a puppet Russian government and possibly later attaching Ukrainian territories to Russia like they do on their maps, right, with Kherson Oblast and Donetsk and Luhansk. So, besides all that, the main idea was the blitzkrieg, right? Which never succeeded. Russians failed it dramatically. They couldn't take Kyiv. They had to withdraw. Then they had to withdraw from Chernihiv, from Poltava, Sumy, and Kharkiv, and Kherson, and other areas. So basically, globally in 2024, they still control less territory than in 2022. It's a fact. But at the same time, in 2022, when Ukraine was invaded, the whole civilized world watched for like 2 months in horror. They were stunned, and they were watching for 2 months what happens next. Will Ukraine lose? Will Ukrainian government and top management have to flee the country like Bashar al-Assad? What happens next? Guys, the land lease with the United States, which is called the Democracy Defense Program for Land Lease with Ukraine, was only signed in May 2022. Guys, 2 months after the Russian invasion of Ukraine. That is crazy. Here we have a person saying that you can't take Kyiv with 10,000 troops was never a goal. Of course you can't. The main goal was to bury those people there in Kyiv and literally kill the elite Russian troops in Hostomel, get rid of like the most skilled Russian Spetsnaz. I know because I was there, and I'm still here on the screen. Russian Spetsnaz, you cannot see much on the screen anymore because basically they died. So the main idea was, of course, taking Kiev. They were planning this, and the whole operation was supposed to take, according to Margarita Simonyan, 2 days, actually. Okay, let's be honest. Anyways, Ukraine has extremely powerful international support, and in every message, in every Russian bots commentary, they're talking about it. They're talking about stopping the support for Ukraine. Let's stop useless killing on both sides. Let's care more about our internal, about our domestic problems than helping Ukraine, right? They do all they can in order to convince the society that the military aid to Ukraine must be stopped, that the weaponry designed to defend Ukraine, to help Ukraine defend itself from the Russian aggression, must stop coming to Ukraine, and then, basically Putin will be extremely, extremely happy because his blitzkrieg of Ukraine, his blitz cringe of Ukraine, was basically the only way for him to survive, and we will talk about it a bit later. So, 2 things here: Ukrainian civil society and strong international support. March, April 2022, we literally had several months worth of reserve in terms of weaponry, in terms of artillery shells. Nowadays, the picture is completely different. We have more or less established military support to Ukraine. So, in terms of artillery, even though they talk about Russia being able to build million shells a year, plus like million shells coming from North Korea, etc., etc. At the same time, Germany only is able to produce, and they already established this production, or 300,000 to 400,000 shells per year for Ukraine. That is Germany only. Germany is only one of G7 countries. Before Putin's invasion, it was G8. United States can't easily produce 1 million shells for Ukrainian army. We're talking about 155 millimeter shells. Now, in terms of artillery, let's talk a bit about this. So, Russia produces 2 gazillion shells per year, 152 millimeter shells for Russian D-30s, etc. Not D-30s. D-30s 122 millimeter. Anyways, Russian howitzers. According to Russian standards, in order to destroy a single object, for example, there is a Ukrainian position somewhere that they want to destroy using their 152 millimeter artillery. According to Russian standards, they have to spend at least 12 shells in order to destroy the target. So, for example, they have a battery of artillery, like 4 barrels, for example, that make 3 shots each, right? And then there's 12 shells launched in the direction of this object, and they expect that 1, 2, maybe shells hit the target and it will be destroyed. According to the NATO standards, for example, in frames of using M777s, there is 3 shells. 3 shells that are required to reach the same goal, right? So because Ukraine adopted 155 millimeter shells, and we have a lot of NATO-produced artillery that uses the same caliber, of course. We are able to shrink the consumption of artillery shells for Ukrainian army. And for the first time, we finally have this parity in terms of artillery. At the same time, you remember Prigozhin last year, Shoigu, where are the shells? A lot of Russians keep talking about lack of shells. Like Baradai and etc., they all speak about lack of shells in the Russian army, even though they have kind of a lot of sources of delivering them, but still no idea why they don't reach the front lines. Ukraine has this parity. Ukrainian artillery systems are much more advanced, much more precise, and basically in this case, in this field, we are more or less fine. So at the same time, again, Ukraine is being supported by NATO. Combined GDP of NATO countries, that is United States and all the European allies, is 40 times larger than in Russia. At the same time, those countries are able to have good roads, good life, good salaries for their citizens. Russia doesn't have any of that. That's the thing. So what will we expect in year 2025? Do we expect some kind of ceasefire? Do we expect this war to be frozen or something like that? Because a lot of people already, a lot of experts already speak about like end game for Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2025. As if like it's already decided, which my opinion, and again, it's based on the opinion of a general. If you want to be smart, listen to smart people. This ceasefire, this freezing of this war will not happen. Again, because Putin and one of the coolest indications of Putin's failing in this, in reaching his objectives, is basically the official Russian mobilization of 2022. It was understood already back then, okay? But the main idea was like this quick, this rapid attack on Ukraine, quick victory, and basically Putin is a winner and everything else didn't happen. The ceasefire, I think, will not be possible. The freezing of the conflict will not be possible. Why is that? So first is Russia cannot continue fighting indefinitely. It's not like an all indefinite evil that literally has no bottom. Yeah, they do. The reason for that is the fact that they're only able to recruit approximately 30 to 35,000 men monthly. And in such cities as, for example, Moscow, St. Petersburg, you cannot really see those recruitment processes happening because they don't want people to die in rich regions of Russia, because it will, of course, cause some kind of uprising. But we will see, we do see a lot of them dying in, a lot of people coming from poor regions. My God, like Ulan-Ude, have you ever been to Ulan-Ude? Oh my God, Ussurisk, what the hell is that? Also for Ukraine, Ukrainians don't support the idea of freezing the war because for a very, very, very simple reason, Ukrainians have their homes right on the occupied territories. A lot of internal Ukrainian refugees have their homes on the occupied territories. Homes that were either taken or destroyed. Just so you could understand, okay, I will show that video a bit later. Ukrainians lost a lot of relatives, a lot of friends, children in this war caused by the Russian aggression. Ukrainians don't accept the idea, and we're talking about the general population, they don't accept the idea of just giving up to Russia. It's not how it works with Ukrainians. Ukrainians are very, very different from, I don't know, majority of people out there. We will not give up that easily. We want Russia to be defeated and punished for its atrociousness, for the crimes it committed against Ukraine. And that will happen. Russia cannot continue fighting indefinitely. We were talking in the previous videos about the Russian vehicles, Russian tanks, the storages that are getting depleted more and more. Critical year 2026, when the critical point in terms of finances and tanks will be reached, right? And we also talked about basically Russian losses, because again, Russia lost, there's approximately 700 men dead and wounded as of today, and they only got so much territory, right? So considering their dynamic of advance, their speed, which is approximately 14 square miles a day, and Ukraine has like more than 1,000 kilometer long front line. So considering this tempo, Russians will need more male population than they physically have in order to establish control over the whole Ukraine. We will not even compare their dynamics, their speed of advance to 2022, when they could take thousands of kilometers on a daily basis. Nowadays, it's around 14 square kilometers, which is another fact. And reading the commentaries, yeah, but we will talk about it later. Arch, yeah, does Russia have a chance? Does Russia have a chance being backed by only an extremely powerful country like North Korea, Iran? Syria is no more, okay? Doesn't seem likely, considering that, again, Russia has a GDP that is smaller than in Italy. What's next? Russians will also not accept the idea of ceasefire, because they need to push. As of today, they literally throw all their resources into the meat grinder in Ukraine. They throw all their men, all their tanks. They're buying shells in North Korea, again, because Russia is a superpower. And they will not accept this idea of ceasefire, because for Putin, that is basically a death wish, right? He will not survive this. If there is a like freezing of conflict, his military objectives are not reached, Putin is a dead man, and he understands that. That is why he needs to continue this, and he needs his whole propagandist machine, all of his informational resources be directed at Ukrainian allies. And again, unfortunately, this is rather effective, because amount of people that stick with the idea of supporting Ukraine, maybe even for a longer period of time, but until Russian withdrawal, is slowly declining, and the number of people who want to see the conflict finished, even if Ukraine loses territory, their number is rising. That is according to the poll conducted by YouGov and posted by The Guardian. That is, again, the direct result of Russian propaganda. Why does it happen? Is because Russians create millions of bots speaking about it and calling for it in the social media. Russian social design agency, Russian FSB, and yada yada, all of their cyber troops are working very, very hard on this. And they have result. So that is considering the ceasefire. I personally don't believe that we will see it happening. Also, Donald Trump admitted that his idea of settling the war in Ukraine in 24 hours failed. He didn't expect, to learn so many details about this. I talked about it. My God, I'm not a Nostradamus, but it was literally very, very obvious. All right. So last year I talked about it as well. What else do we know? There was some very interesting information shared by the General Havrilov, who said that there is a possibility of establishing a so-called gray zone, and that is something very, very interesting for me personally. Establishing a so-called gray zone, some kind of buffer territory along the existing front line in Ukraine that will utilize all kinds of unmanned equipment, all kinds of unmanned drones, turrets, etc., to make sure that Russian upcoming advances will fail in that specific span of the front line. So we're talking about digitizing Ukrainian defenses. We will use less infantry, more robots. In the previous video, I also talked about first case ever in Ukraine when Ukrainian brigade, Khartia, and I know that brigade very well, for the first time in history, they conducted a ground operation using machines only, machines armed with machine guns and UAVs, FPV drones. So for the first time in history, that was conducted by the Ukrainian armed forces, which is extremely, extremely cool. Brigade Khartia is a brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. They are extremely cool and innovative. I know the brigade commander in this brigade, and I wish them luck, of course. What can we talk about now? Now I would like to share some of the updates. Again, please let me know your opinion, because we all expect the war to end 2025. There are like predictions made by, I don't know, different mediums and astrologists that Putin will not survive 2025. We will see. As practice shows, those individuals unfortunately tend to live long. General Starsky, the chief of the General Staff of Ukraine, there he is in the middle, visited Kursk region. And in Kursk region, we know that Russian losses are estimated around 38,000 orcs, which is extremely inspiring, I would say. And just like just like around 1 hour ago, Snow Chains, Simon, hello, nice to see you in the chat, my friend. Just about blah minutes ago, we received an update that may indicate that we also shot down a third Russian helicopter in 2 days. So as you probably know, yesterday, this footage emerged showing that Ukrainian special forces downed a Russian helicopter using naval drones armed with missiles. Later, Russians reported about losing 2 helicopters, actually, which again confirms one interesting fact. A lot of Russian bots out there, and generally not very pleasant people, they say that, oh, come on, Ukraine like pumps up the numbers of Russian losses. No. Ukrainian special forces downed 1 helicopter, which they could confirm on the video, and they reported about downing 1 helicopter. Russians later reported losing 2 helicopters because apparently one of them was destroyed, and the footage could not confirm this fact. So they lost 2 helicopters as of yesterday, and like just several minutes ago, in some of the Russian monitoring channels dedicated to the Russian aviation, all those flying devices that have no analogs and shit like that. They literally posted a post saying only one word, which is very. It's not appropriate to say this word when there are kids around, things like that. Basically, it's a curse. So why were they cursing in their community? It's a very good question. Maybe soon we will hear about some new success story about Russian helicopter becoming a good Russian helicopter. At the same time, British embassy in Ukraine reported that 200 Ukrainian pilots finished their study of operating F-16s in the UK. So now we have quite an impressive army of pilots capable of operating F-16s. Hopefully, we will receive more of those airplanes and we will see them flying. As of this moment, F-16s in Ukraine are mostly used to intercept Russian drones, Russian missiles, and things like that. And to finish my news updates, my friends, this deserves to be the top update in the section Russian cringe. I know that you anticipated this. I know that this is your absolutely favorite section of my videos. The Russian cringe. Guys, I will show you a video that comes from Makhachkala, Russian city, okay? And I'm sure that you in your Americas and Europes, you don't have anything like that, like what Russians have right here, right? You can be envious like crazy right now, okay? I will show you this video that I also translated so you could understand this. This is absolutely insane and gorgeous.
Вот, дорогие друзья, всех приветствую. Вот новая мусорка открыта в городе Махачкале. Дети приходят как на парад здесь фотографироваться, селфи сделать. Это очень красиво. Больше других мест в Махачкале нету, как это. Открытие мусорки в центре города. Жалко, цветов нету только у детей, чтобы вас зажить. А так все есть здесь. И дети, и шарики, и взрослые. Поздравляю всех с открытием новой мусорки.
Right now, you should be envious as fuck. Seriously, you don't have that. Literally, it's an event in Makhachkala downtown, opening a garbage container. What an achievement for the whole Russian nation! That is absolutely amazing. Yeah, that is exactly the LOL situation, I think. Okay, and just a bit of personal updates. I finally moved. I know that nothing really changed in the picture right now, right? Like the gray background, the dude, like same bald man in the picture. But yeah, you can trust my word. I moved. Everything works fine. My mobile internet luckily works as well, so I can make streams for you, my friends, which is something extremely cool because I missed you. I missed streaming. The last one was made on 4th of December. It was a long time ago. Okay, I think that is that a dumpster fest 2025 only in Russia, my friend, only in Russia. Generally, that man who talks behind the video, generally he's like being ironic big time, like he understands what happens, like what kind of shit is that, like, they're opening a garbage container place, in the Makhachkala downtown, like that is crazy. They bring their kids with air balloons only in Russia, okay? So let's see what we have here. And guys, I cannot express how happy I am finally. So you never been to Cardiff? Oh my God. Dear Cardiff, I really hope that citizens of Cardiff will survive this winter, okay? Because if you watch Russian television, you probably know that they must have eaten all the birds, all the stray dogs on the streets and stuff like that. Women were doing prostitution to survive. I think men also have to follow the path, because Cardiff, our hearts and thoughts are with you, people of Cardiff. We love you. Where's the ribbon? I think ribbon costs too much, maybe. I don't know. Ribbon. Garbage, yeah, garbage containers in Russia. That is so cool. Garbage containers will save Russia from garbage. I'm captain, I have right to say so. Is that a sarcasm or reality? Well, generally, the picture is reality. The dude behind the picture, he's being sarcastic, but he just explains the reality big time. That is so insane. My God. Londoners eating their hamsters already. Not sure. Oh my God, I'm destroying things here. Not sure about Londoners. But again, according to Russians, they expected to freeze Ukraine. They expected Ukrainians to eat their pets, etc. We didn't see that happening, even though they keep striking Ukrainian infrastructure. At the same time, yesterday, Kostroma, Gukova, two Russian cities were celebrating New Year without electricity because of icing on the power lines. And Russian superpower, of course, was not prepared for this because apparently low temperatures don't happen often in Russia. My God, for the first time. Anyways, you don't even have to bomb this country. It will collapse on itself. You should only push it. A quick joke. Two Ukrainians and Putin walk into a bar and the barman says, "What will you two be having?" What will it be? My sense of humor shrank over the past week, unfortunately. Yeah. What kind of system do they use? Just manpad or multiple missile? If you are talking about the drones that were utilized to shoot down those helicopters, I could tell you, I think it was P-73 or something like that, or R-73. It was on a Ukrainian channel, so I cannot really tell you the details. It's on my phone, actually, and my phone is used as a modem to provide me with the internet. So just a second, I will find it for you, Rick, because it was right there. Come on, load, man. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, by the way, Germany provided the special force of Ukrainian armed forces with unique unmanned aviation complex Hazard and Humvee to deliver this UAV to and from the front lines. Also, United States, Ministry of Finance of the United States, the Treasury, right, sanctioned several organizations from Iran and Russia for using AI in order to share disinformation during the presidential elections in the United States. So here, P-73 Sea Dragon. P-73 Sea Dragon, that is Sea Dragon. It's R-73, right. because Ukrainian R looks like American or English P, right? So that is Wimpel R-73, NATO reporting name AA-11 Archer. That is a short-range air-to-air missile developed by blah, 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 that entered service in 1984. So generally, it looks like this missile was modified and installed on the Ukrainian drones, Ukrainian naval drones. So those missiles are used to shoot down Russian helicopters in the Black Sea. R-73 Sea Dragon. As of today, the Russian gas transit via Ukrainian pipelines has stopped. Any idea how much of loss of income that will be for Russia? Yes, Clara, it was estimated that Russians will lose approximately $7 billion annually. Just so you could understand, due to Orban and due to Fico, his last name actually looks like Fica. In Italian, that is something very, very unpleasant or pleasant. So, due to those two morons, Russia received $7 million every year from the European budget to continue their aggression of Ukraine. And basically, according to my estimates, those two idiots paid for like 3 or 4 more years of Russian war in Ukraine. $7 billion, that is a lot. And actually, considering that Russian GDP is shrinking, that's a rather good news. Russian GDP was estimated between 1 and 4 and 1 and 3, 1.4, 1.7 trillion dollars. But nowadays, again, because they cannot sell their oil and their gas and other resources in such amounts as they did before the full-scale invasion, of course, the numbers are much different. And again, we cannot really tell the details because they're classifying their data big time. Will the invader bomb the pipeline now? Yeah, that is a really interesting question because as of today, there were, of course, no Russian strikes on this gas pipeline that is more than 1,000 kilometers or something like that. I think something like 30,000 kilometers of pipes and different infrastructure, 31,000. Anyways, there were no strikes, of course, because Russians would not bomb their own pipeline, but this may happen. On the other hand, I'm not a pro in this area, right? And I don't really know what kind of benefit would they receive from bombing that. No idea. But of course, this may happen. Maybe they will be hitting the pipeline that not only connects Russia with Hungary and with Slovakia, but also they will build, how to call it? In Ukrainian, it's газорозподільчий вузол. In English, that would be like this point where the gas is being redirected to other settlements and cities and yada yada. So those will be attacked. That is 100%. Will invaders send North Koreans through that pipeline? I have weird questions. Tom, they can, only in pieces, because I think a human being cannot really fit in that pipe. Although I haven't been there, I cannot tell you. Will Ukraine finish off the Black Sea Fleet, then sink the Tartus and Baltic Fleet? So it depends on our capabilities. It depends on whether we will receive long-range missiles to do the job, or maybe we will produce our own missiles like Neptune, that is already modified type of the same Neptune that sank Russian flagship Moskva in 2022. I think it's possible. The main target, I would say, for Ukrainian armed forces in terms of Russian Black Sea Fleet are missile carriers. So it's basically submarines able to carry caliber missiles. Also, it's Russian missile carrying like destroyers. Those are also our targets. So they will be targeted 100% because they pose danger for Ukrainian citizens and, of course, Ukrainian infrastructure. The rest, I don't know. Russians had approximately 10 big troop-carrying ships, so-called landing ships. Currently, I doubt if they have more than 3 functioning of those ships. That was such a cringe when Jackson Hinkle in some of his Twitter posts said, look at this, and there's this video showing mighty Russian fleet and those big landing ships on the screen, and he's like, look at this is the mighty Russian fleet. And then somebody in the comments actually said that those ships specifically, they already don't exist, they turn in submarines. Was kind of cringy. I never thought that the fireworks could be a problem for many of the Ukrainians living here. Look, I understand that this is a normal thing for Europeans and for everybody else. In Ukraine, we didn't really have fireworks since 2014. And if you saw fireworks in Ukraine, in Kyiv, for example, in the middle of the night somewhere, you could easily call police or literally go there and kick his ass. Seriously, nobody would protest against that because unfortunately, all Ukrainians, 100% Ukrainians, they got used to the fact that if you see a flash of light, or if you hear explosion, that basically indicates death. That is something that brings death and destruction and wounded people and sirens and ambulances and stuff like that. When you hear loud bang in Ukraine, that's generally something that kills, right? Took me personally quite a while to get used to the sound of jets in the sky in Germany, because in Ukraine it takes you very, very short period of time to get used to the fact that if you hear jets in the air, that is death. That is literally something that will explode very, very shortly, right? Make no mistakes. If you hear something flying, that is death. And it takes a while to change that attitude, right? So same with bangs and explosions. I served 10 years almost, and that is something that bothered me back then in 2015 and 16, whenever you heard some kind of firecrackers, whatever. And currently in Ukraine, that is the problem for 100% Ukrainians. I understand that this is the normal thing. For example, in Germany, yesterday, our neighbors, let's call it this way, were launching those fireworks all night. It's okay, I'm trying to cope with that. It's fine, I'm a guest here, right? But that is just something that all Ukrainians experience. We don't like fireworks. All 100% of us. How long do you think it will take for the deep strikes on Russian logistics to have a material impact on the battlefield? I think it takes not that much time, because generally Russian ammunition storages, Russian factories, majority of them, and Russian oil refineries, again, majority of them, and I'm talking about vast majority of those objects, are located very, very close to their western border, which is close to Ukraine, close to Belarus, etc., closer to us, to the European Union. Why is that? That is basically because when Russia prepared their invasion of Europe, they decided to locate their main strategic objects closer to their western borders, so it would take less time to deliver them to the hypothetical frontline. That is why it won't take much time. Generally, I would say that within a week after striking Russian refinery or big Russian ammo storages that we can see, that already brings impact. And by the way, according to the statistics, Russians lost something like 1/3 of their oil producing capabilities because majority of those oil refineries that were hit on the Russian territory, they're closed for unplanned repairs. And those can take a while, of course, because they were built using Western technologies, and currently they cannot really buy those Western technologies, or they can, but they have to, do their schemes and find a way to deliver them to the terror Russia. Maybe Trump can send an LNG tanker to Transnistria. I will send him an email and suggest, do that, please. Do that, please. We will see that. Did Ukraine finally agree to mobilize everyone 18 plus? No, it's not the case. According to our top management, according to President Zelensky, this is not the case as of today. Again, according to General Havrilov, we will be mobilizing less infantry and more specialists that can operate unmanned equipment, unmanned drones, combat machines armed with different like automatic grenade launchers and machine guns, FPV drones. We will try to make this war as much digitized as possible. So we would lose less men. I think that is incredibly important, and like it's 21st century. So what else do we have here? Will Ukraine be developing a missile that is similar to the Oreshnik? Ukraine cannot produce like ICBMs. That's what I know. I know that in the Soviet Union, the ICBMs were and are still produced in the single factory located in Russia, in Votkinsk. That is a single factory that produces between 10 and 12 ICBMs per year. Right, so that Oreshnik, it will not be produced in like gazillions, like Russians are stating. It's not true. Like they cannot do that. Ukraine produced like rocket engines and things like that in Yuzhmash, in Dnipro. Yes, we had factories that were producing engines, but not ICBMs themselves. At the same time, Ukraine can kind of produce nuclear weapons. We have a lot of plutonium from nuclear waste, and we can do it easily. But what's the point? The main idea behind Ukrainian international agenda was not to produce ICBMs, not to have nuclear weapons, because when Ukraine had nuclear weapons, we were pretty much isolated due to the effort from the United States, because we were basically like, barbarians on the international map emerged, having like world's third biggest arsenal of nuclear weapons. Holy shit, what do we do? So Ukraine, in order to establish its partnership with the international community, with the United States, which we were always friends with and always wanted to be friends with, and the rest of Western world with Europe, we had to give up our nukes and all the technologies for so-called security guarantees. And basically, United States and Russia, they told us, Ukraine, everything will be fine. We will be your umbrella against, possible external aggression. And how much? 18 years later, 28 years later, we can see that didn't work well for Ukraine, because Russia, that was one of the sides that signed Budapest Memorandum, so happened it attacked Ukraine. Can Ukraine use sea drones in the Baltic Sea against the oil ships? It definitely can. Will it? That is another question, but the possibility is real, is absolutely real, because Ukraine doesn't only produce its drones, Ukraine also exports drones. Vast majority of the drones that are utilized nowadays on the Ukrainian battlefield, they are produced in Ukraine, actually. So we can definitely use those drones as well. Will we do that? I have no idea, unfortunately. I lost my access to the General Staff of Ukraine since February last year. Okay, let's check out earlier commentaries. So you never been to Cardiff? Yeah, that we already talked about it. I would really like to see this place. Maybe bring humanitarian aid, some beer, vareniki and things like that. Did you see the Tesla go boom? Actually, no, I haven't. Gotta check it out. Any Russian hamster recipes? Generally, yeah, you gotta have like a hamster with a bit of garlic. You can boil it in the tears of the Russian widows. Tastes fantastic. Where can I donate hamsters to London to help? Oh my God. Use email. Email is the fastest delivery. Hamster curry, anyone? Hamster currywurst. Genau. Hamster currywurst. Could you please not sink oil tankers in Baltics? It's already troubled waters. I don't think that it will be the case. I don't think that we will be sinking them. But again, Russia has this big problem, okay? They have this dark fleet. And dark fleet doesn't mean that they have like, this Captain Barbosa, or what was his name? Captain Sparrow and shit. No, they have a bunch of tankers that are used to smuggle Russian goods that are basically sanctioned. And we also know that those specific vessels are used to conduct all kinds of sabotage against the communications, the undersea communications in the Baltic Sea. So that is a problem, but and another problem, by the way, for example, for the countries, for the Baltic countries in the region, is that even though they have much better like intelligence and surveillance capabilities than Russia, but at the same time, tracking ships in the sea, it's not that easy like to achieve. It's not an easy task, actually. If a ship turns off its transponder, I know it's a transponder in the airplanes, I'm not sure how you call it in the ships, but if they turn it off, like basically there's no way you can detect it other than using like radars and other surveillance and intelligence gathering equipment. So it's not an easy task. In a long-lasting Russian tradition, they named their weapons after their designers. Am I assuming Oreshnik is named after their fearless leader? I don't know why they called it Oreshnik. Actually, it sounds cringy as shit. Seriously, it sounds extremely cringy in Russian language. Oreshnik, Oreshkin, maybe like Oreshkin, maybe some kind of Oreshkin was the designer of this. So, but I don't know. Have you seen the reports of Yuri Butusov about Ukроборонpром's low-quality mortar shells delivered to troops? What can be done about that? I haven't seen that specific report, but I know that we had and have such problems. Back in 2022, we had those problems because we had our artillery munition shortages, and we had to take like old shells and resurrect them somehow and deliver them to the troops on the front line. Currently, there are still reports that yes, we do receive low-quality shells, but I don't know if they're talking about the 152 millimeter or like 155. Wait. Mortar shells, 120, I think. That one I didn't hear. Yeah. So it's either 92 or 120 millimeter shells. Does that have any meaning or symbolism anyway? If you're talking about Oreshkin, Oreshnik, the only case I can remember is, this movie called Die Hard, right? So in Russian culture, in Russian dubbing, this movie was always dubbed as Tough Nut, Крепкий орешек, like tough nut, right? And tough nut, because you cannot translate it properly in Russian. Die hard, what does it mean, die hard? To die in a hard way or like resist dying, no. So they decided to use like tough nut, and now they have a lot of their like titles in the media after using that Oreshnik against Ukrainian country houses with literally meager result. They have a lot of titles in their media saying that tough nut terrifies the West. I saw it myself. It was so cringy. Tough nut. Will Russia go bankrupt this year? I believe the anticipation was for 2026, which was based on the dynamics of Russian expenditures on war. So around mid-2026, they will be spending approximately 50% of their whole GDP on war against Ukraine. That will be the critical year. But on the other hand, of course, I believe that that will still bring a lot of troubles for Russians this time. Oh my God, what kind of... I would really like to talk about this one, guys. There was like a prediction made by Financial Times. So, Financial Times published their prediction for year 2025, and in 2024 they already made prediction, and they made like only three mistakes back then, which I don't know what kind of mistakes, but they predicted that in 2025 there will be a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Donald Trump will keep pressing Moscow with sanctions and will keep supporting Ukraine, increasing the military aid to Ukraine, to force Russia to negotiate. Again, according to Financial Times, President Zelensky will accept the de facto but not de jure Russian control over the occupied territories, in return receiving the security guarantees from United States and the US, and joining like the NATO membership for Ukraine will be delayed indefinitely, of course. Putin will keep hoping for Europe to lose decisiveness, right? So Macron, okay. Will Elon Musk and Trump, will they finally start fighting? No. Financial Times believes that Musk will keep being a good friend with Trump because this will benefit his company. Will Trump start the full-scale tariff war? Possibly yes. According to Financial Times, Trump can implement 10% tariffs for at least half of imports in the US, including the goods from China. But China may lower the export prices because that will help them reduce the impact of increasing tariffs in the United States. So there were some other predictions. I don't really know, but personally I don't really believe in the ceasefire because it's not in Ukraine's or Russia's interests. It's not like, we have to stop killing today, because in order to stop killing today, you have to have a good foundation and security guarantees for tomorrow. Then, yeah, that is possible. But at the same time, can you see him take Canada, Greenland, and Panama? I don't see anything because I don't have those abilities. So we were talking about ceasefire. I don't see it happening. But at the same time, Putin already bragged in like 2022 or 23. He already bragged about like new territories that were, according to Russians, connected or attached to the Russian map. And I believe it was during his staged meeting with so-called Russian mothers, the actors playing Russian mothers. And one of them asked, like, what is the result of this special military operation that continues for like gazillion days already? And he said, well, look at the map. That is the result, like I'm the man. So what can possibly happen? Again, in my opinion, and that is a big possibility for this to happen, is that Putin will understand that he will definitely not reach his geostrategical goals in Ukraine. And literally, in order to stay alive, right, he will declare a victory over Ukraine and whole NATO and the Milky Way and Alpha Centauri. And Russians will celebrate this day as this huge victory of Russian people over evil West, because Russians sacrificed gazillion people in order to take like a bunch of territory. Again, not a single major city was taken in 1,043 days. They lost one. So they can turn this possible ceasefire, into a huge and glorious victory of Russian people over the evil West, right? So the territory will be frozen, de jure, and it will never be recognized as part of the Russian territory. Like, nobody will ever do that. Russia will keep being sanctioned country, of course. Maybe some sanctions will be lifted, but this may be declared as a glorious victory of Russian people, and Putin will remain a victor, right? So this is something that may happen. Can we please get back to Ukraine as a topic? Of course, my friend, of course we can. Like all of our today's episode is dedicated to Ukraine and around Ukraine. What the Hutsul seers saying about 2025? So Hutsul seers, and specifically Hutsul Molfars from the Carpathian Mountains, say that Putin will die and I will grow hair. I will tell you if that is true, because I have my doubts. However, actually, the other day, my God, do I have it here? Just as, oh my God, yes, I do. Okay, I hope my connection will not die. I hope it didn't. Yeah, so the other day I tried having a hair, and I think, you know, if I had a hair, I would probably go with like this one, like, you know, like heavy metal, old style, something like that. Something like, you know, soft, long threads of hair, you know, hanging down my shoulders. I would definitely look like some kind of heavy metal artist of like 1981. That would be extremely cool. Let me know what you think. Yeah, what else do I have? Yeah, so I moved, okay, I moved, and this is approximately how I celebrated the New Year's Eve, because this place requires some renovation, and I know, like, female and probably some male part of my community expects the Gigolo calendar finally to happen. Not really the Gigolo calendar that you may expect, but this is generally how I met this, the end of the last year. It was extremely cool and interesting. I love this process. I was painting the walls. I was painting them white because I like a bright environment. So it was the rest of the updates. The other day we went to this Christmas market. I think it was in Köln or Düsseldorf, I don't remember. And they were selling, like, we were going through this crowd of people, and I noticed a man with like stick, and on the stick there was meat. And the man looked extremely satisfied, you know. And my lady gave me a new nickname, you know, a nickname I would never create myself. She called me Operator Starving, because I was. And I noticed that man, and I'm like, oh my God, look at him. And he looked so happy. He looked so satisfied with that meat on a stick, you know. And we spent like half an hour trying to find the place where they serve it. And turned out that they have this place where they sell like beef on a stick. Guys, it was so good. I'm literally drooling right now. It was just so good. Oh my God. Do I have a photo? Yeah, of course I have a photo of that. Just a second. I need to share this with you, because you can tell from my face that this stuff was just so worth. Okay. Yeah, here it is. I know that it's like 1st of January, a lot of hungry people here. but I'm really, really sorry for this. Yeah, that is the meat, and those eyes are the eyes of operator starving that very moment. That was so good. Reminded me of Ukrainian shashlik, actually, because like Ukrainian shashlik, that's actually not natively Ukrainian cuisine, right? Shashlik. It's a Caucasian cuisine, but we have that stuff in Ukraine. But that one was good. That one was just so amazing. Can the Ruskies track your location? You might be a HPT. They definitely can. I tell you that. And well, do I expect to see them? Like, of course I do. I was in infantry. But do I really care about it? Not really. No paint splatter. That is because I'm a good painter, okay? And there are paint splatters actually on my fingers. And my pants, actually, I have to buy new ones. Tatar. Actually, Caucasian. I know that Tatars probably also have that, but shashlik is like it's the most natural dish in areas like Azerbaijan, Georgia. You know, that location. There you can find meat on stick. Usually it's either pork in case it's Georgia, or like beef or chicken if it's Azerbaijan. Is it cured jerky meat? Yeah, and it's also grilled. And it's just so good. I mean, I cannot tell you how good it was. Why haven't you streamed for so long? My dear friends, the problem was that we had to move, and we had to find new apartment. We had to settle everything. We had to move the stuff to the new apartment, and generally I don't really have like much stuff. I have only like 2 pants, 1 pair of sneakers, but they are good sneakers. Sneakers, and like, you know, my studio, which I can literally fit in the back of my car easily. But somehow that move took a lot of time, plus, cleaning everything and painting. The process is still ongoing, and also internet. That was my main concern, because I still don't have stationary internet. Maybe it will be active since tomorrow, but the speed is kind of meh. So I will probably keep using my phone, and I think it's like it's good. Like the internet that I have right now, I think it's good. So that was the main reason. I could not really stream. The other day I had a couple of videos with Anna from Ukraine, some other videos, but generally I couldn't stream much, literally because of that. It's so hard, for example, when you wake up in the morning and you monitor shit and you create a video and then you edit it and upload it. And I do that not only for my channel, but also for UATV. And then you have to literally pick yourself up and go paint, or like clean, or like go buy materials, you know, things like that. And then in the evening, you should also have a stream. That is not an easy task, actually. So I hope that answers your question. How long will North Korea support troops? Are they surrendering? We know about a single case of North Korean surrendering. We already have quite a few pictures of North Koreans, which are good North Koreans. They will not attack anybody anymore. There was one case, I believe, last week. Our guys captured a dude, And then, because he was wounded, unfortunately, his wounds were too severe and he died in hospital. So technically, we already captured one, but he did not survive. You want to make Russians angry? Tell them how they became R&D and pioneers of LGBT back on World War I because of Hungary spies. I gotta learn more about this topic, actually. So how do people feel about deep state map guys getting sent to the front? How do people feel? The same as anywhere else in Ukraine. Ukraine is fighting for its survival. How can we feel? We feel that it's a really bad and nasty period for all of us. We feel that, yes, we're losing people. But guys, this is something emotional, okay? There is a commander, for example, on a specific span of the front line, okay? Commander or sergeant or a like private, right? And yes, war is extremely intense process. People dying, people getting wounded, people losing people, right? Losing friends, comrades. This is very emotional. In the military, you have, if you are on the level that is like operational strategic level, you have to quit your emotions and you have to have like a cold mind if you want to have situational awareness, if you want to keep this understanding of the situation, of your capabilities and things like that. You have to be cold-minded. So people people being sent to the front, emotionally, yes, this is so bad. Logically, fuck Russia. If we want to win, we have to fight. Okay, so this is what we do, and Ukrainians that are there in Ukraine, they understand that we have no other choice because Russia wants to eliminate Ukrainian sovereignty and Ukraine as a state. Russia wants to assimilate Ukraine as one of the national minorities and basically make us disappear. Fuck that. We will not stop fighting because our survival depends on this. So that is the question. What do we feel about those guys being sent to the front line? My God, what do we feel? As if it's something that we had to avoid, as if it's something like somebody else should fight instead of us. I fought for 10 years because I didn't want other people, young people or people without kids, to join army and fight in Donbass. So that was one of the reasons I was there. But I had so many chances to quit service, and every single time I was like really, really close to making this decision. I thought, but I have this friend and I have that friend fighting there. They also have families, they also have children. So what? Yes, emotionally it's hard when you receive a letter that, oh my God, or a call that your son died. Emotionally, yeah, it's very hard, of course. Emotionally, it's hard to go to a funeral. Emotionally, it's hard to explain a kid how his father died. Emotionally, it's hard to explain a widow that, yes, that leg that is everything that's left from her husband actually belonged to her husband. Yeah, there are cases like that, and emotionally it's really, really hard. But Ukrainian military, they are professional. They are not emotional, okay? We know how to switch that off. So that is the question. Is there a part of you that misses being in the active military? The part that has good health, or at least something I considered good health, kind of does. The part the part that lives here right now and knows that there's no drone strikes like the fireworks out there, even though they're disturbing, but there's still fireworks. 5 people died in Germany, by the way, in Berlin due to fireworks. Not in Berlin, in Germany, due to the fireworks. That part understands, like, not that it misses the active service, but I still have a lot of friends there, actually. So I kind of feel I keep feeling this responsibility that, probably I should be there as well. On the other hand, I spent 10 years in the military, and one thing I never had was, personal life, probably. I don't know how to explain this. I watched this absolutely touching Ukrainian motivational social ad. There's this bearded guy, and I think it's available in English as well. There's this bearded guy somewhere at the ruins, and he shows those, messages on the screen. And he says, in 2022, I was an IT manager, and I was traveling around the world, and now I serve in the Ukrainian army, helping my guys defend my country, etc., etc. And I thought, dude, in 2022, I served in the army, and in 2018, I also served in the army, and in 2016 and 15, I still served in the army. And, whenever my friends were sending like pictures from France or Malta saying that, hey, hello, we are here chilling in Malta, how are you? They are in Donbass, that was kind of inconvenient. Like the inner feeling was kind of inconvenient. So that's the answer. Consider a ratio of supporting troops and fighting troops. How many was that? 10 people supporting the rear of one fighter. That's a good question. So generally you have a brigade with 3, 4 infantry battalions, 5, 6 infantry battalions. Then you have 1 battalion of supporting troops, 1 supply battalion. So those guys responsible for things like cooking food, delivering supplies, protecting the area, the common, guarding company, how do you call it? In frames of a brigade, that is a single battalion. I haven't heard of a brigade having 2 supply battalions. In our brigade, it was 1 battalion. So it's not 10 guys backing 1 infantryman, it's a bit different. As a former police officer and a soldier, if you witnessed an attack happening and had the opportunity to intervene, would you? That's not even a question, of course. I would definitely intervene. So that's something that actually causes a lot of problems in like my offline life. I can't stand those mobilization demands anymore. Why some NATO countries just don't put peacekeepers to the Belarus border, for example? That's a good question because, for example, in 2022, like when Lukashenko, remember, like was showing on the map where exactly Ukraine was gonna attack peaceful Belarus. So back then, President Zelensky talked to the UN, and he said that we are ready to accommodate United Nations observers on the border between like Ukraine and Belarus and Russia and Belarus. So we were absolutely ready to do that. The problem is that if you want to send peacekeepers, you, as far as I understand, you have to have some kind of agreement from like United Nations, unless you have a mandate, like Russia, for example. Russia doesn't care much about United Nations. They just use their invaders wearing blue helmets anyways. So why they don't do that? Okay, let's imagine there are British peacekeepers, for example, deployed on Donbass, and all of a sudden Russians shell them and a bunch of guys die, right? What will be the reaction? Will it trigger the full-scale response from NATO or not? If it doesn't trigger the full-scale response from NATO, well, that basically indicates for Russia that Russia can do whatever it likes. It can kill anybody, British, whatever. NATO will never respond, okay? NATO lost balls. It has no teeth. It will not respond. So, if NATO decides to respond like with full force, right? So this is basically the cause for the World War III. Neither Russians nor NATO want that to happen. So will peacekeepers arrive to Ukraine considering the fact that they can be killed by Russians and NATO will have to respond? That's a tricky question. And that's a tricky situation that I literally don't know how to resolve. They're diplomats neither. Imagine you get 0.25% worth of GDP of countries supporting Ukraine. How much better would Ukraine would be? Much better, my friend. And by the way, it's so cool to see you in the chat. I missed you. I think much better in terms of weaponry, in terms of the long-range missiles that we can build to deter further attempts of Russia to invade. I think that would be fantastic. And 0.25% worth of GDP of countries supporting Ukraine, that is basically the whole annual GDP of Russia. So having all that as a comparably smaller country than Russia, that would be big. The Baltic states joined NATO and the EU in 2004. Was there a window also for Ukraine then, or would it have been impossible? 2004. Back then, Ukraine was ruled by President Kuchma, known for being extremely corrupted, but at the same time, he tried to balance between Russia and West. So Russia and Europe, he tried, to connect to both. It was like a good spread, actually, like a good stretch. I think it would be rather impossible back then, 2004. 2005 maybe, when President Yushchenko won the election, but Yushchenko lost a lot to pro-Russian parliament, okay? So pro-Russian parliament, pro-Russian government. It was an insane resistance between like pro-Ukrainian, pro-Western, pro-European president and pro-Russian oligarchs on the other side. it was a mess. So I don't think it would be possible back then. And also, Ukraine still had to fight a lot of corruption back in those days. President Yushchenko, even though he did a lot, but he didn't do enough, in my personal opinion. He could do much better. At the same time, I think like last year, the statistics were published that transparency in Ukraine currently are at the same level they were in countries like Poland or Hungary or Slovakia shortly before they joined the European Union. So I think we are about there, finally. It took us 20 years longer than expected, but we are about there. Is me on Blue Sky or any other websites? Yes, I'm on Blue Sky. I quit Twitter, luckily, and you can find me on Blue Sky. It's Starsky UA, one word. I will literally type it in the chat like that. So it's Starsky UA. It's if you see that in any social media, that's me, which is basically Instagram and Blue Sky. What kind of weapon system would make most good for Ukraine to receive now? Planes, tanks, artillery. The most crucial thing right now for us is air defense. We require more Patriot systems than we have. Approximately 10, 12 pieces, like units, more than we have right now. So that's one thing. And another thing is long-range missiles to use to deter Russians and hit their strategic objects, strategic targets. So those two are probably the biggest Ukrainian needs as of today, I think. We don't have enough air defense. We don't have enough because Ukraine is Europe's second largest country. Okay, we have vast territory. We have 22 major cities that are big, right? If Bakhmut is like 7 kilometers across, right? Then cities like, I don't know, Kyiv or Zaporizhia, they can be like 20 kilometers long or more, 25. So they're big. And the distances between cities, the major cities, are also big. So if you want to protect the major cities, you need to have like 22 Patriot systems, right? Like it's logical. But also you need to cover other cities and territories like interlayered air defense. That is extremely complex and it requires a lot of air defense units. So that is one of the biggest concerns right now. And another thing is that we don't use Patriot systems to shoot down drones like Shaheds. We use helicopters, we use F-16s and man-pads and mobile groups like ground troops. That's the thing. So apparently we will need other sorts of short-range air defense systems, and we will need a fuckload of them. So that's another problem. It was estimated that... I will just read you this number because I cannot keep it in my mind. Just a second, my friends. I saved it specifically to talk about it today, but okay, cyber crimes on Russian helicopters and yada yada. Where was that? Yeah, again, news on this professor who died. Transit of Ukrainian gas. I need some kind of, I don't know, organizer for myself because so since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, Russia launched approximately 1,300 missiles and 1,000 drones, okay, against the Ukrainian energy infrastructure. Think about it. 1,300 missiles, including ballistic missiles and cruise missiles, and 1,000 drones attacked Ukrainian infrastructure over these almost 3 years. So you can understand the amount of damage it brought to Ukrainian people, to Ukrainian critical civilian infrastructure. So that still remains a problem. We need to have enough air defense to make sure that none of the Russian missile strikes or drone strikes are effective, that none of the Russian drones reach the targets. Because initially, Russia was launching like 30, 40 drones, right? They know that we can intercept 35, but 5 will reach their targets. A drone carries 40 kilograms or roughly 80 pounds of explosives. That's a lot. That's much more than in a artillery shell. So then we grew and expanded our air defense capabilities. So Russians started building like 70 drones. Now they launched 70 drones like last year. We expanded our air defense, right, to be able to intercept them or suppress them with the electronic warfare measures. Now Russians are building like 100 drones and send like 100 drones almost on a daily basis against the infrastructure. They know that we can intercept 95, but rest 5 drones will hit their targets and will cause damage. But we still keep doing like that. We still keep growing our defense capabilities. Also, we are very good at repairing shit. Okay, so when our heating station, for example, is damaged by drones somewhere in Kyiv Oblast, we send the troops, we send the repair brigade and their repair stuff. So we are good at repairing. Also, we receive a lot of equipment, right? A lot of spare parts. So that is another thing. But air defense is still not able to cover all areas and provide enough layers of defense as much as needed. Which professor died? Ukrainian neurobiologist Igor Zima, this man. So he was found today in his apartment. Earlier in the morning, I made a report. The rescuers found one body of a woman, and later today, unfortunately, they found the body of Professor Igor Zima. He was a doctor of medicine and biology, 40 years of experience. Teaching people and helping people, and he was professor in Kyiv, Taras Shevchenko National University. So yeah, he was killed by the remains of a Russian drone. Will the French Foreign Legion appear in Ukraine when there's more air support provided to Ukraine? I think regardless of the air support in Ukraine, the main appearance of Foreign Legion in Ukraine only depends on the political willpower of French president. Only that. Is there any estimate on percentage of armed drones against decoys? Launching decoys is like a good idea, but on the other hand, why can't decoy also carry like explosives? What's the point? It's better to just build a F-load of drones actually charged, carrying explosive charge, than additionally build decoys. I don't know a lot of such cases. There are cases of Russian using decoys, But generally, they use decoys when they send a wave of drones, then a bunch of decoys, and then they also additionally launch their cruise missiles. So they want to overwhelm the Ukrainian air defense. In those cases, I know that they use decoys, sometimes even missiles. But generally, myself, I don't really see the reason behind, making decoys. What's the point if you can just place charge on a drone and send it? Is there any evidence of artificial intelligence being used in the war? Yes. So artificial intelligence, and we talked about it last year, I believe in autumn, with my friends who build drones in Ukraine. We were discussing using AI. We also talked about it with my bro. So there are already cases of, for example, Russians installing the computers with AI on board of their Shahed drones. So they, even if they work autonomously, without being controlled from Russian headquarters, without being controlled remotely. So they can recognize buildings that look pretty much like power plants, right? So there is data from Ukrainian intelligence confirming this, that Russians already utilize it. Also, there are Ukrainian drones, and not only Ukrainian, I believe, my God, were they German? I think they were German, like German drones that were promised to Ukraine, that also equipped with AI, so they can recognize targets like tanks, for example, or armored vehicles. I'm not really sure if they are used already. All my attempts to talk about it with the developers failed. They don't really want to talk about it, but Russians do use artificial intelligence installed on their Shaheds. The Shaheds that are already built not in Iran, but already in Russia. They have several factories. In the beginning, Iranian drones were not really precise because they used inertial navigation system. Then we started finding the remains of Russian Shaheds modernized. So they, in the beginning, they had modules installed using Ukrainian SIM cards, like literally SIM cards of Ukrainian mobile service providers. So basically Russians bought thousands of them somehow, I don't know. And those SIM cards provided Russian drones with internet connection, so they could be guided. Then Russians started installing video cameras on drones. So now, besides being kamikaze drones, they also provided Russians with intel, right, with the surveillance data. And then we started finding those drones equipped with GLONASS, which is Russian analog of GPS. And then we started finding drones equipped with freaking Starlinks, like literally Starlink terminals installed on board of drones. That is insane. So Russians keep modernizing them. So that happens. I forgot the word. Damn it. That happens because they have to reduce the amount of charge carried by a drone, okay? So for example, if initially drone carried 40 kilograms of explosives, now it carries 30 kilograms plus this navigation equipment installed on board. So they carry less charge, but at the same time, they are modernized. That is crazy. That is extremely crazy. Mini Taurus drones, yes, those are the guys, the AI-equipped ones. Are lasers being used to fry cameras on Russian drones? You know, I was a big supporter of this idea of using lasers back in the times of the Revolution of Dignity, when we used lasers massively too blind, like those corrupted police troops that were thrown at us, didn't really help seriously. And I think if you want to use lasers for that, you have to use like some powerful shit. You don't really buy that stuff in the stores, I think. So we do use lasers. They are kind of powerful. I cannot tell you more because I don't know the details, but I saw them being used, like not those like, big machines that literally toast drones or aircraft, not them, like literally carried devices. I cannot tell you anything about effectiveness of them. But on the other hand, considering that usually as much as half of drones that come to Ukraine are being suppressed by electronic warfare and things like that, maybe they're not that bad. Okay, my dear friends, we're approaching 2-hour mark, and I really need to go and make myself another cup of coffee because I'm literally falling asleep here. Guys, we will be finishing this episode on a positive note. Again, I really hope that you had an amazing new year, and I hope that this new year 2025, will bring us victory and some kind of progress, because even though tactically we have a lot of fuck-ups and gaps, literally because Russians have a lot of troops, but strategically Russians are losing, and that is a fact. Okay, so I really hope that year 2025 will bring us some good news for all of us. And I really hope that this threat of Russian terrorism will finally stop bothering us, because the only reason we have problems nowadays is like not that people are stupid, people don't vote for people we need or things like that. It's literally because there are Russian terrorists utilizing their informational warfare, their hybrid warfare to make our life harder. But we don't give up that easily. And one thing that Ukraine can share with the world is our resilience and our hope and our trust. So, guys, let's stick together. Thank you so much for being with me tonight. I hope you have received at least some answers to your questions. I did as much as I could. And we'll see you in the Thursday's episode, because tomorrow I will have some of your favorite YouTubers on my channel as well. Dear friends, we'll see you later, and as always, be safe. Goodbye.